Hello, beautiful light-filled souls. My name is Trisha Barker. If you haven't seen my first video about my near-death experience, you might want to check that video out. In this video, I'm going to talk about healing. And I did learn some things about healing through my near-death experience. I saw the angels working through the surgeons to assist in my surgery, and they sent this healing light, which was also information, which was also healing. It was many things at one time. So when I saw that, I realized that angels could work through people. Now, my physical issues, I had been in a car wreck and I had shattered 3 vertebrae, and many of the bone pieces were pressing on parts of my spine, and I had lost a lot of feeling in my left leg. I was worried that I wouldn't walk going into surgery. And later, I was interviewed for the series Beyond and Back, and I survived Beyond and Back, and they researched some of the details about how I actually died, and I had internal injuries, so apparently I bled to death on the operating table, and that's what was written down at the hospital, that the doctors had to cauterize certain veins, and that was the cause of death. I did not stay and watch after the monitor flatlined. I only saw the angels sending this healing light into my body and knew that I would be okay. Now, I'm not going to retell my entire near-death experience because I just want to focus on healing. In those months after my near-death experience, I came from this place of great belief and love and connection to God and angels. So it was very easy to go into deep meditations and to imagine the bone healing and growing around the rods in my back. It was easy to see the actual parts of my body healing in my mind. I could visualize it, I could feel it, I could see it. It was real to me. And I could also see this healing light and meditation coming from God. And that assisted a lot in my healing. I kept up with Tony Danza, who had broken his back, and I looked at how long it took him to get out of the body cast. And he got out pretty quickly, and I thought someone with that amount of money had great access to physical rehab and all kinds of things that would facilitate his healing quickly. So I asked my doctor to check me at about the time he got out of his cast, and I had healed great. And she was shocked and happy by how wonderful, the surgery had gone and how wonderful my healing had gone. So I got out of the body cast at that time. There are near-death experience stories that you're probably familiar with, like Anita Moorjani's story, where she came back to a body with stage 4 cancer and was able to heal herself very quickly from that cancer. There are amazing stories that Joe Dispenza talks about people who really get it, and they're no longer signaling those genes for that particular disease, and they are healed. This video is not to make you feel bad about a lack of an ability to heal yourself. That is not the purpose of this. The purpose of this video is to remind you that the mental state that facilitates greater healing is one belief. So it's really easy to believe in God and the angels and the power of that love to heal us when you observe it, as in a near-death experience, or when you have been that close to it. It's a little harder when you're in form and you haven't had that connection recently, or you haven't had that connection at all, and you're simply believing in the words of people like me and others who talk about the possibility of this healing. So belief is vital, but also dispelling fear is also incredibly important. So I've observed people who've died of cancer and have tried all kind of alternative cures. No amount of blueberries and supplements is going to help you if you're in a state of panic and anxiety and desperation. That is not the energy of healing. The energy of healing is completely different. It's calm. So you have to calm the body. You have to give the body that reserve of energy to begin the healing process. Fear has to be dispelled and replaced with love. So I've done little experiments with things that are easier to visually see that healing has occurred. So I had a bruise on my arm, and I thought, well, let's see how long this takes. And I stayed in a 3 hour meditation, maybe 4 hour meditation. I know that's a long time, but I was in the flow of God and angels, and I called on billions of unknown angels. I called on as many as I possibly could. I called on archangels, I called on the love of God, and I was like, please manifest healing just so that I can visibly see that this is possible. I did not erase the bruise, but it was lightened considerably. And I usually hang on to a bruise for a couple of weeks, a deep one. And within the next day, it was really lightened. And by the third day, it was gone. And that shocked me, like that's progress. That's, it's not this instantaneous healing, but a half day meditation for something as small as a bruise and then quicker healing, speedier healing is interesting. Now, when you have a more complex issue like I had with my back, I had a ton of time, and illnesses usually and accidents usually slow us down. So that time is vital. It is time that you can spend in meditation and in communion with that love of God. If you need healers, to energetic healers to assist you in that process, then by all means do that. And I'm not saying that supplements and eating right and juice cleanses and many things are not able to facilitate healing as well. I'm not even saying that, certain procedures that the medical field uses aren't able to heal people. They are at times. What I'm saying is that and Anita Morjani says something really similar in her second book. She said, whatever your choice, if you come to it with more excitement and love, that choice has a better chance of helping you. And that is exactly right. So if you are jazzed and excited about the potential of someone to help you heal, and you have belief in them, then by all means do that. But don't never, out of desperation, pay a psychic, a healer, anyone to help turn your life around and to do the work for you, because they will just simply, there are people who will just take your money and not actually teach you how to do this yourself. And you should be able to do this yourself. I mean, you are the one who has way more control in your healing than anyone else. And that's a lot of responsibility, not to make you feel bad. This is, I mean, as I said earlier, or if I didn't say this, we're all leaving the planet, and it will be, from some sort of disease or decay, or even, at best, just dying in one's sleep. But there will be something that each of us cannot overcome in a sense. And so a little disconnection from physical form helps as well. So I think part of the reason it was easy for me to heal quicker during recovery after my near-death experience is I was in connection with that love of God, and I knew that we go on, and I was not afraid of death. I was less connected to this form. I wasn't angry that I had to be out of school for a year. I was just happy to be alive. And that's another mindset that someone who's been diagnosed with something major can take into their lives. Be joyful right now that you're alive. So have that gratitude and that love fill you to the brim instead of fear. That's an important step. And do not beat yourself up if things are not working, but don't give up, because what if it takes 5 years of extreme meditation? What if it takes 3 years of every day meditating for as many hours as you can, being on disability, but at the end of those 5 years, you are healed. It may take more time than you want it to take, and it may be frustrating at times, but staying in that flow, that love of God, is important, and that is the key to healing when and if it is possible. But if you have belief in a certain place, so I had belief in this healing cathedral outside of Santa Fe. I felt the energy the minute I walked into the place. Honestly, I felt the love of Jesus when I walked in, and it blew me away. I felt this incredible emotional healing the first time I went there. I had a physical healing the second time I went there, and the third time I just felt balanced and happy and full of joy. And that was also a lovely experience. But I think it was my faith and the combination of that energy there that facilitated some of that. So certainly find something that you believe in and find a way to be in a state of love, of joy, of belief, of communion with God as much of the time as you can when you're facing a major illness, and that can help. Now, how do you avoid the fear and the panic? Every meditator knows that you have to go to battle with your body and your mind sometimes, because your body wants to get up and it doesn't want to do this and it doesn't want to be in this state. And you have to, as Joe Dispenza says, master the body. And that takes practice and that takes time. Don't be mad at yourself if you start slow. Every little bit helps, but you are trying to get to a place that is pretty intense and time consuming. When I say I was in half a day to heal a bruise and really only to facilitate, quicker healing with that bruise, that sounds like a long time. I'm sure that I've heard the stories, there are other healers who talk about how they've healed something more instantly, a cut, then they've stopped the bleeding or various moments like that. I only know what I know, and so that's why I'm sharing it. But I know that for me, it takes time in meditation and it takes time in that communion with God to facilitate healing. And so that should be a part of anyone's practice in working towards healing. So I hope this helps you, and I know that there will be a lot of questions perhaps about this and a lot of concerns, but I want to leave you with the final statement that never beat yourself up for not healing something, for not being able to manifest quicker healing, because that energy will never be of use to you. It won't help you. Just love yourself however long it takes, or even when it doesn't take, in a sense, and when healing doesn't occur. Just love yourself through this process of life. Loving yourself is not narcissism. It's simply just taking all of that negative energy from the world, from other people, and saying, I don't need it. This isn't doing me any good. I need to be in a state of grace and love. And so may you do that, and may you be blessed.